Welcome to the Fire Away Podcast. The podcast that is the Fire Away Podcast. Oh yeah, here we go. Let's do it.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Fire Away Podcast. I'm your host, Mark Meyer. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at fire_away podcast and follow us on Apple Podcasts. Go up there and click that little plus sign on the right-hand side. It means a lot to the podcast when we get some more followers. So we're going to be running a solo podcast here, just going to bring us in, and then we got a special guest joining us today for our employee spotlight. But first, I want to talk about the Baltimore Hunger Project, which is going to be Wednesday, November 1st at 3 p.m. Come on out. We're still looking for volunteers. It's a great cause. We do it every year here at Fireline, so we're right here on the parking lot in between all the buildings. And your holiday party, which is going to be Saturday, November 18th, Dress to Impress. It's going to be at Laurel Racetrack, so we look forward to seeing everybody there. We're going to be doing a live podcast from the party. We got a table that we're going to have set up, and we want you to just come over and say hi to us. I think it's going to be Fred and Big Willie Matt Williams is going to be running that podcast that day, so come over, say hi to us when you see us over there at the holiday party. And remember, if you guys want to join the podcast, or if there's something you want to listen to on the podcast you want us to cover, if you just want to come in, sit in the studio, see how we do it, before you make your mind up, reach out to me, let me know. All right, so we'll get you on the schedule, and we're going to go ahead and jump this off with our employee spotlight today, Miss Allie Tucker. Hi, Allie.
Hello.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
How's everything going for you? This is a little bit of a different employee spotlight today.
It is very different.
Very different. So you got about, 3 weeks left?
Yeah, about 3 weeks.
So
we're at the end of the first week.
Yeah, we do the employee spotlight. It's a get to know your coworkers. And this is still a get to know your coworker, but you're only going to be our coworker for 3 more weeks.
I'll still be here in spirit. You can't get rid of me.
No, and really it's more of an homage to Allie, the Swiss Army knife here at Fireline, because you've done so many things and you've been such a great help to so many different departments, and we wanted to bring you in to kind of give you a send-off and just get to, for people that have seen you around and know that you work here, and just kind of get a little bit to know you. And you never know. Who knows what happens in the future? You know what I mean? You might come back again.
I told him, keep my desk open.
Yeah, it's like a Friday the 13th movie. It just never goes away. So how long have you been here? So all in total, not like left and come back, like total amount, how long have you been here?
I would say about 10 years.
10 years?
Is my go-to number.
Okay.
Without the gaps.
And then how many separate departments have you been through? Not through, but with?
I'm guessing like 4.
Which is why I said like
4, yeah.
Like the Swiss Army. Like you've your skill set takes you through PZ and coordinators and contracts and a little bit of everything that we do here, which allows you to really assist and help out all these other departments. And there's not a whole lot of people. Like I talk about Frank Chenoweth and I talk about Matt Myers a lot because they're the guys that know everything about everything, right? Mm-hmm. I need to go to them about extinguishers or system tanks or alarms. They can help me with that. So I feel like anything inside related, you're kind of that person, right? If it's contracts or if I need to know something with PZ help or DocuSign, Adobe, I can go to Allie because I know you're at least going to have some kind of idea of how to help me out. So you're that person for that side of it. At least in my eyes, you are. So
I try to be.
Yeah, it's good. Or you make the most out of what you're good at there, and it's allowed you to have a different kind of career here at Fireline where you've been able to assist. Like I said, I want to say go through different departments, but actually work in separate departments and actually help those departments out with whatever you would have been, hired or brought on to do at that time. So it's definitely going to be weird to be here without you because you've been here since I started, at least, or I think you had just come back.
Yeah, I think I just came back from my first tour.
Yeah, so right after I started. And then you actually worked for me for a period of time. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it'll be different, and I'm sure we'll still be blowing your phone and email up here or there once you're gone. It won't be a smooth transition.
It's all right. We're preparing for it, and I'll be accessible afterwards. I can't help myself. So
yeah. So for those of you listening that don't know, you must live under a rock. But Allie is the daughter of our Vice President Shannon Atkins, and that's something I want to talk about a little bit. Like, we don't need to, we're not here to talk about Shannon. We can bring Shannon in and talk about Shannon, but what is that shadow like? It's not like your mom was the supervisor of the department, right? You come in, you're her daughter. And I know you well enough to know that you've always been your own person. But it's still a shadow that you're working under, right? It's probably not so much a fear, but like a thought in your mind that, I got to kind of earn my keep because people are going to think I'm only here because of that reason. So tell me a little bit about what that was like from like the start, like coming in, because your mom's always been up there. You know what I mean? It's not like she just got this, this title and this job.
Yes. In the beginning, it was very challenging. Just with the concept of like you said, like getting out of the shadow and like working to prove that it's not her, making me, where I am and do the things that I'm doing. So I had a very hard time because people were very vocal about their feelings when it came to things that I was either getting or doing. And it was all just like, oh, you're only doing it because of your mom and this and that. And I was like, no, that's Shannon. Between the hours of 9 and 5.
Yeah, and you've actually, I've heard you myself. You refer to her as Shannon and not mom,
yes,
which is fine. So, was that at all a motivating force behind, your work ethic and style and?
Oh yes, no, I think I've always, and I'm not going to say I've gained a lot of things from her. Obviously she's my mom, so I learned from her, but she is a very hardworking woman. So
tell the emails I get at 9 o'clock at night.
Oh yeah, so it was just very like I only wanted to prove people wrong at that point. I was like, no, I don't get things because of her. I don't gain any head start because of it. If anything, it actually sets me back. It puts me behind the line because I have to now work 10 times harder to prove that like I am worth what I'm getting and I have these skills because I want to have them, not because they were like just handed to me.
I understand. It's like that, for me, because I'm such a handsome fellow. I need to let people know that I've actually earned this podcast. And it's not just because I've got a face for radio. Kelly's laughing over that. No, but I get what you're saying. Not to get off track here, but it is, like you said, it's a hurdle to get over. You're not coming in on a level playing field. You have to kind of feel like this. You prove yourself.
After some years, because obviously it's been a while. After some years, it definitely leveled out. I think I was more comfortable with who I was. I gained a lot of knowledge and development in my personal and professional life. And it didn't feel like that anymore. And there's moments, where I hesitate maybe for a minute because I'm like, are people going to think this or that? And I'm like, you know what? Like, I know that I'm good at what I do.
Yeah, and people are always going to think what they want, right? We know here at Fireline, it's I forget what they say, death taxes. And if you want everybody to know something, tell a Fireline employee. That's kind of everywhere, right? It's just the nature of us all. Of everybody talks, and that's fine. It is what it is, but it's hard to stay away from that, right? No matter how hard you work, how hard you prove yourself, and I can say, like, you worked for me for years, and it was never a feeling like you had only gotten that position because of who you were. You've always excelled at every position that you've worked in. To my knowledge, every position, and it probably is attributed to a little bit of the DNA of that. Shannon is a hard worker.
It's passed down.
Yeah, and it's also, like you said, you kind of got a little bit of a fire underneath of you, right, to come and improve something. Mm-hmm. Which is not a bad thing. It's a good thing to have.
I've had people ask me if I was bored, like I would be doing things and I'll go the extra mile, or I'll dig into things, or I'll start. I just get into all the different things and I'm like, I need to know what it does. I need to take it apart. I need to put it back together because I need to know from start to finish. And they're like, are you bored? Like, why are you doing that? And I'm like, because I have to.
Yeah. And I remember, just a real quick about, in the portables when you were the coordinator, like, it's like, it's answering phone calls and scheduling. In the middle of the day, you're now working on a project. And I'm like, what happened? And, but it's like once you started something, you were digging into it until it was finished. Yeah. It had to be done. So I kind of get that mindset. So let's just pivot a little bit outside of Fireline. Growing up, like I said, this isn't a Shannon podcast, but you grow up with a hardworking mom. You know what I mean? Because I can't imagine that she just started being a hardworking mom. Mm-mm. Did that shape how you looked at the work life? How you looked at a work-life balance or a career?
I think I've always had very good role models. Even outside of my mom, but she was working, since, right out of high school, working her butt off, multiple jobs, doing what she needed to do to take care of me. My father was in the military and then he was just, working away, doing what he needed to do. A other members of my family have just always been very driven by their careers and their motivations to work hard in order to provide for all the things that we do. I mean, we do a lot of things between vacationing and doing things together as a family. So that was always like, I need to work and I need to.
It's your family dynamic. Right?
Yes, I was like, I want to do all these things when I'm, in my 30s and my 40s. I want to be able to give my kids what they've given me. So it was always like, I never once was like, I don't want to work. I mean, granted, you get off work and you're like,
yeah,
after this job.
But I see what you're saying. Like, hey, if I want nice things, I'm willing to work for.
Oh yeah. And I mean, it's gotten me now. I mean, I definitely had a eye-opening experience recently with this new opportunity where I was like, my hard work has paid off, and now I'm going to be getting something that I never thought that I would have at my age. So
we can talk about that a little if you want to. We don't have to get into specifics, but we did mention that you are leaving. You got a few. By the time this comes out, it'll be the beginning of your last week here at Fireline. And I know you're going to kind of stay on a little bit as a part-time,
kind of like a consultant.
Yeah, consultant for us. So do you want to tell us a little bit about the opportunity that you have? As much as you want to, as much as you can.
Yeah, no. So the opportunity came about, was not seeking new work. I love Fireline. This is my family. I told this new company, they had come and they wanted me to work for them. They had heard about me and my work ethic and the things that I've accomplished. And they were very eager to kind of bring me on. And I was like, you have no idea what you'll have to do to get me to leave this place. And I was like, they have been my family for years. I have things that I've earned that I am never going to give up. The flexibility and the things that Anna offers us is such a privilege. So I was like, you're not, there's no way. And they were like, I think they took it as a challenge. And they were like, all right. And they had, pushed and given me kind of more so what I had asked for. And I had thought about it. I cried about it. I talked to several people throughout my family about it to try and make this decision. I was like, I don't know if I can do it just out of fear. I was like, I'm so comfortable here, to leave my comfort zone for what is an amazing opportunity was still so scary. But I made the decision and I thought, I got to do it for my family. It's a great opportunity. Am I going to be slightly uncomfortable at first because it is a new experience? I'm leaving a place where I know everything to go to a place that I don't know as much. But I was like, family first.
Yep. Well, I think this is why this podcast is important. Right? We didn't say, let's have Allie on because she's Shannon's daughter. We said that this is a tribute to me, in my eyes, of what makes Fireline so great. And it's people. It's this family that we are here at Fireline. And I've said it 1,000 times. Not everybody's going to drink the Kool-Aid, right? There could be people listening right now that are rolling their eyes to me saying this. But I'm a firm believer. What makes Fireline so great is its people, it's this family feel, and that you are part of our family. And yes, it's a little bit of a different podcast to have somebody on here who is leaving. But it's because we're family, and we always want to see our coworkers and our team and our family be the best that they can in person. I've lost employees, that meant a lot to the department and a lot to the company, but I want to always see them do their best, and that's kind of why this, to me, was an important podcast to do, because it is. It's like I said, it's almost an homage to, hey, you've been a great employee here. You've been a great part of a lot of different teams, and we want to bring you on and talk to you about it. And it's, it's not like, oh, we can't talk to Allie, she's leaving us. It's no, we want to see you go on and be successful, right? Because you said, I want to provide for my family when, I'm in my 30s and 40s. You ain't even in your 30s yet.
I'm almost there.
Geez.
Stop, I'm almost there.
Tell me about it. Almost 30s. I was almost in my 30s still 2 years ago. So we talked a little bit about, growing up, and you said, you were lucky to have a lot of role models. So now you have 2 children, and does that play in your mind now for them? Like when you watch them, like, hey, I want to be the same role model my mother and family was for them.
Yeah, I want to make some tweaks to something.
Yeah, again, I know you're well enough to know that you're your own person. It's not like
Yes.
you're not following in Shannon's footsteps. Allie's blazing her path.
Oh, yeah.
But is it important that you're successful so that you can show them?
Oh yes, absolutely. I mean, I am driven by the things that I do, and my motivation is you know, obviously before children, your motivation is for yourself. You want to just take yourself places, and having children changes that in a huge way, because you still want to do things for yourself and provide for yourself, but your kids are like, it is like they grow so fast. So like looking at my son who's now 7, I'm like, you're an adult.
Yeah.
I'm like, whoa, like that's crazy. So I'm like, I need them to see me work hard and like see that I'm doing all these things. And I'm hoping that they get that same mindset when they grow up, like what mom did all these things. And I want to do that same thing for their kids and like
Right.
for themselves. But I want to be able to give them the most. And
Yeah, look, it's a great trait to pass down. Like there's,
yeah.
there's certainly worse traits that unfortunately we pass to our children, but
doesn't slow me down. I mean, it in ways slows you down, but like
yeah.
when it comes to work, I'm like, I'm only more motivated. I'm like, I gotta get
Yeah,
this
it's
money.
not just about us anymore, right? And I don't know. I'm new to the whole parenting thing myself, but it is. It changes. It's not just about you and what you want to do anymore. It actually is another little human that
Mhm.
you know is relying on you. And as much as sometimes you want to scream at them, you know, hey, they didn't. You know, as much as you think they did not choose to be here, we brought them into this, so we do owe them that. So, you know, growing up with, you know, with all that, we talked about how close you are to your family. Is there something that stands out? Is there a favorite thing that you do with your family, whether it be, you know, Thanksgiving dinner or a vacation that you guys take together? Is there your favorite family tradition? Shout out to Hank.
I would not say that. I mean, at this point, it probably is a tradition, but our Disney trips, which everyone is probably like, here she goes, Disney.
I got a Disney story for you.
Disney has definitely become a very large part of our life. That is pretty much a tradition at this point.
I heard that your mom actually plays Cinderella when she goes there. Is that correct?
Yes, she is a cast member. She's very involved. She did start out as a janitor.
Oh, she was a janitor.
So
Now she's Cinderella. She has worked her way.
She immediately works her way to the top.
Things you got to do to Mickey to get that promotion.
And we're cutting that out. No, stop. No. So that is, I mean, one of the many things that we do, but it is a highlight, I would say, that we all look forward to. And especially now with the grandkids, my mom is even more motivated to make sure that we make our trips. It's funny because this year she was kind of like, oh, we're going to take a break. We're not going to do it as much. And like, whatever. And I'm like, okay, yeah, cool. And then it was Sailor's first year at Disney. And I was like, watch this. Like, we're going to get in there and she's going to be like, she's just going to lose her mind. Sailor didn't care. My mom, on the other hand, was like, we're just going to bring her. You know, you guys can stay and do whatever. Like, we'll just bring her to Disney. And I was like, there it is.
Yeah. It's her grandma. It's not so
she
much
has,
for Sailor.
Yes, it is. As much Disney is like my mom's favorite thing. And everyone's like, Disney's not for adults. Like, it is, but I think bringing a kid gives you more of an excuse. So now Sailor is her excuse to now go. But we love it so much and we all go. We have a great time. We always do new things every time. There's something new to explore. So experiencing that, even though we might do it as a traditional thing, experiencing new things every time is always a new memory that we have in our pocket, which is fantastic.
Yeah. And it's Disney. They do everything right. They really do. I'll keep my question about Disney off mic for you because I think we're doing pretty good. Let's just keep it positive.
Oh no.
Deanna knows what I'm talking about. She's the snitch. So I mean, Disney's pretty cool, right? You guys do this. It's a good. It's going to be hard to. It's hard to beat.
Yeah, top
that
it.
Family tradition.
Because we do holiday stuff, but it's like I have such a large family. It's actually very dramatic, the amount of family that I have. So that's like the one thing that always just stands out.
I'm from a really big family. Like when I was growing up, we were all close. A lot of aunts, uncles, and cousins. And as we gotten older, and you know, life has kind of taken over. It kind of spreads out. So it's a tough thing to keep together, and it's really important. Like I'm still close to some cousins of mine and some aunts and uncles of mine, but it's dramatically gotten smaller over the years. And I hate it because I wish my daughter could have the opportunity that I had growing up to be part of such a big family. But it's just one of those things, right? I used to hold on to what we got, but to me, it's very important. I know, you know, to you, like you said, you're bringing them into this, and then to have that support system around you really does kind of make things a little bit easier. And we're coming into the holiday season, and I think that's what is where the family either turns good or bad, right? It's like it's stressful and it's hectic, but you know, it's just so for some reason the holiday season gets you into that family mood. Maybe just because it's how you've always spent, as since you're a kid, you're with your family on the holidays.
Mhm.
At least we try to be, most of us, if we're lucky enough. So your mom had you pretty young.
Oh yes.
You had Liam fairly young. I mean, it's not
Still young.
not yes, it's young. And then you talk about the challenges in the workforce of kind of prove yourself. So now doing that as a young mother too, that's got to compound the issue. So not just in work, but throughout your life, did that help shape you or mold you into anything that you can think of, like that sticks out to you about being such a young mom and
It
just taking on life?
definitely changed my entire life. And not to be like, I feel like everybody's like, oh, kids changed my life and parenting changed my life, and that's like a generic phrase. I had my son at 20, and which I was like, yeah, like I made it past my teen years. Like me and mom high-fived on my 18th birthday because mom had me at 18. So I was like, yeah, like not pregnant.
Yeah.
So 20, I had my son, and I was living the party life. I was doing all the things. I
What
was
you're supposed to
traveling.
do, yeah.
I was just living my wild years, and that was my best life I was living, I thought. So having my son was definitely a eye-opener to all of what life has to bring. So it was immediately like you realize who your true friends are, who is actually there to support you during this time where you are bringing another life in the world. So that was very, very eye-opening for me. I only had one person who really stood by me, which was Deanna, who everyone probably also knows,
Yep.
who works here at Fireline. So she is my no question, like ride or die. So that, and then just working. I mean, I was working obviously right out of high school. Also, I was here. This was during a time where I had kind of come and gone a little bit between working, here in a position, and then I would leave for a little bit, and then I'd come back. But I had my son, so everybody knew, I was pregnant here, and they met him when he was born. And you obviously have your family that supports you, but the amount of people here at Fireline that I never would have realized were going to be there for me was incredible, which is why I say, like, these people are my family, but, like, they really are. Like, there are people that know my son's birthday, and, like, they want to get him things, and they're always asking about how he is and concerned for me. And that is so incredible and like a gift that I didn't think I would
and
get.
I'll say this to anybody that's new here that's listening to this: just give it time. Like, it really is a family here.
Yes, and everybody's like,
trust the system. Trust how we're doing things here. And I've said that, but kind of you said it. Like, the two things that bring out who your true friends and family are attract.
mm-hmm.
When you're going good and you're going bad, you're going to see. People would think that when you're triumphing, when you're having these good parts, that's when you have more friends. But that's not also necessarily true either. There's a lot of people that don't like to watch other people be successful, right? So having your kid at 20, I want to say this because I started way late. I was almost 40 when I had my daughter. But I know plenty of people, have plenty of friends and family who had children young. And what it seems from the outside a lot of times is their kids grow up, and then they feel like, I got to go back and live my 20s because now that my kid's 18, 19, 20, whatever, I'm going to go back to, I missed my 20s. So now I'm going to have, do you feel like you have any of that?
I like kind of like a FOMO type of thing.
Yeah.
I definitely have moments, and it's not like reliving my 20s. Like I want to go party. It's more so like there is a sense of freedom that gets, I wouldn't say taken away because that sounds bad, but you are now responsible for another human being, another life, in all aspects, in how they eat and now their education and like their successfulness throughout life. So there's a sense of freedom where like you now have to take away that focus on yourself just a little bit, and put it into something else. So I think there's moments where I'm like, I can't wait until, not that like I want them to be older, but the moments where I can go take a trip by myself,
Yeah, I understand.
or, with my significant other, I want us to be able to do
Well,
things.
it's a great way to put it. What you said, it's the sense of freedom. It's not just
Yes.
sense of like I missed out on partying. but, like,
No,
it
yeah.
is a little bit of a freedom, like carelessness.
Yes, like I can't
Carefree. is
I
the
can't just
term.
get up and go out to
Yeah.
have dinner or go get drinks, or I want to do all the things that you can just kind of get up and do whenever you want. Like you have to say nope, like I can't do. I have to get a sitter, and I have to plan like who's going to do this with them, and like circle back to what time do I have to be back from the activity that I'm going to do,
Yeah.
because it's full circle. So there are moments where I'm like, I definitely miss that freedom of doing what I want when I want, and not that I wish my kids to grow up any faster than they are, because it's
It happens
actually
so fast.
insane. I do enjoy them being small and little and very little terrorists, I call them. They're
Yeah.
just all over the place destroying my things, but it's cool. I love them. But I can't wait till they're like, all right, Mom, see you later. And I'm like, oh.
Yeah, I really do. I like the way you put it. Like it's the freedom, it's the carefree part that you miss the most. And I will. It's still a little bit fresher for me than. What I mean, you would just have Sailor, but you've had Liam for, like you said, 7 years, so you do feel that. Like there's definitely times where I'm like,
Oh yeah.
to me, the funny thing, it's rainy days.
Oh my gosh.
I used to
yeah.
just love to have nothing to do on a
Mhm.
rainy day, but just nothing. Now it's like there's a Tasmanian toddler running around the house on a rainy day.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I remember when it was quiet on a rainy day and I could just enjoy it. So that's what, to me, it always brings up that nostalgia of the freedom that you had once.
Oh yeah. And I will say, like, having one, I was like, I was just blinded by I was like, I would always complain, like, oh, he's crazy and I can't get anything done and I want to do this. Having two, I'm like, that's,
I don't know how people do it.
I'm like, they pretty much run the house. We're outnumbered. I'm a servant at this point.
Yeah.
I have
I'm sure there's plenty of people that can agree with that and attest to that.
Oh, the one benefit is that Liam is 7 and Sailor will be 2 in December. So I'm like, he's old enough now. Like he kind of does his own thing. Yeah, he does his own thing. He doesn't really, like, he wants to do stuff with us, but he has his own time and his space. But he does, like, he loves her. They love each other, which is like, was unexpected, because I was like, they're gonna hate each other.
Big brother. I mean, that's a perfect, like,
oh, I know.
7 and was she 2?
She'll be 2 in December.
Yeah,
and oh my gosh, they are like, it's great because I'll be like making dinner, I'll do something, and he'll be playing with her. And it's like, you don't realize that like 15 minutes just went by and neither of them talked to you because they were talking to each other. And I was like, and I try and like soak that in because I'm like, oh, that's great.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's great. Thank you.
I say yes, and I'm sure if Heather's listening right now, she's probably like, "You never played with me when we were younger," which is probably true.
Well, that's why I've seen so many like siblings that are like not friendly with one another, or like I'll hear stories where they're like, "Oh, when you were kids, like you hated each other," like it was just that tension of age. And I'm like, I'm sure we'll get to that point when they're in their teens where they're like trying to fight each other like for the bathroom or something like that. But I'm like, right now I love it because she's enthralled with him. Like everything that he does, she's so fascinated and she just wants to play and do all the things. And he's just like, okay. And there's times where he's like, she's touching my toy. And I'm like, just be calm. She'll let go. Yeah. She's wild, but like she'll let go.
Kids being kids too, right? Like, and I guess to my defense, I don't think that Heather and I were ever combative as brother and sister, but we just, I don't know, we had different interests, and I just felt like growing. Like we definitely played sports. Both of us played sports when we were younger, but then as we got older, it was like we had our own separate group of friends because we were 3 years apart. So it was like I don't have this memory of sitting down playing with her. Like there's definitely like traditions. Thanksgiving was big in our house growing up. I remember those things like we did as a family, but it's weird when you think back. Like, yeah, I don't know. I hope I wasn't a brat to her, but I'm sure she could probably say otherwise.
Well, I have 3 younger brothers, so I remember
you were the bully.
I was the bully. I was, yeah. Oh yeah, my brother
Parker. She has 2 younger brothers. Yeah.
My brother Parker, he knows. I'm like, me and him are 12 years apart, and we are, now that he's a teenager, he'll be 18 soon. I get on him hard about everything.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And he hates it, but he gives it right back to me though, so he's learning.
It's just such a hard age where at any point in time when someone older than you at that age tries to give you advice, you're just like, shut up, old person.
Oh, it is.
You know what I mean?
Which makes me feel old because my brother will be like don't tell me what to do. Like, I know everything and it's the right way to do it. And I'm like, who do you think you're talking to?
Every teenager talking to every adult.
I'm like, oh my God, this was me talking to my mom.
Yeah, it's weird. I talk to the shop techs up there that are in their early 20s, and I'm like, oh my God, when I was 20, if a 42-year-old was talking to me, I'd be like, shut up, old man. So they're probably thinking the same thing. Like, I promise, I just want to give you some good life advice. And they're just rolling their eyes like, you don't know nothing. You're bald. But that's just kind of how it is. But Allie, I really do. I want to say congratulations on what's next for you. We're all excited to see where it goes. I'm sure that we'll stay in touch to some extent. I appreciate you coming on here.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I like to ask everybody before we wrap this up, every guest we have on for our employee spotlight, is what would Allie Tucker today, 10 years in, say to Allie Tucker coming into the doors of Fireline day one?
I'm not gonna lie, because I know you asked this question, so I thought about it, and I had like a million different answers, because there's a lot that I would tell myself. But the main thing that I think I got out of it was patience. To be patient, not only with others but with myself. There are moments in time where I think you want to rush yourself into something new or into something that you're doing. You just feel like you need to hurry because time in some way is going to get away from you. And as time does move fast, I think if I was more patient in things I was doing, that it would have benefited me later on. So patience is something. Just
Great
be
answer.
patient.
Just be patient. All right, Allie. Well, thank you again. Mm-hmm. All right. That's going to wrap up another episode of the Fire Away Podcast. Remember to follow us on Instagram at _away podcast. And please subscribe and follow us on the Apple Podcast. Just click that little plus sign up at the right-hand corner. It means a lot to the podcast when you follow us. So thank you all again, and we will talk to you next time.
Welcome to the Fire Away Podcast. Podcast that is the Fire Away Podcast. Oh yeah, here we go. Let's do it.